A thriving and vibrant democracy is only achieved through periodic elections that are free, fair, and credible. Every 4 years, Nigerians have the opportunity to participate directly in the election of their president, governors, and lawmakers. 2019 is another election year, and it is fast approaching. It's just 90 days to the presidential poll, and tomorrow, November the 18th, political campaigns will officially kick off. Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of StandPoint. I am Veronica Danik-Boy. My panelists are in the studio. Joe Igbokwe is the Publicity Secretary of the APC Lagos State Chapter. Balaba is a political analyst, and Evans Ufeli is a lawyer. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you for the opportunity. Welcome. Thank you.
Now, let's move straight on now. Political campaigns are avenues for politicians to sell themselves to the electorates, to reel out their manifestos, state what they have to offer, and the likes. But in Nigeria, political campaigns are often a jamboree, a time of sharing money, food items, and other materials, as well as a time to party. INEC will tomorrow lift the ban on campaigns, and the stage will be thrown open for politicians to begin politicking. Would we see issue-based campaigns this time around, or will it be business as usual? Well, what are expectations?
It would be very delusional of anybody to think that the candidates we have now, the main candidates we have now, can wrestle on issues. Let's be very honest with ourselves. The candidates that can be intellectually engaging on issues are peripheral candidates, largely peripheral candidates. The two main candidates are fortunate to have intellectually loaded vice presidential candidates. And I'm really looking forward to that. If there's going to be a vice presidential candidate debate, I'm looking forward to a pairing of APCs and PDPs. But beyond that, to be honest with you, ma'am, I am not going to be too optimistic in getting any form of rich intellectual materials.
But that's not what it's supposed to be.
That is what it's supposed to be. But that's what's supposed to be, but the reality speaks against what would have been once ideal circumstance.
But is there any way we could have changed that narrative as electorates?
As at this juncture,
yes,
it's too late.
Too late?
Because the candidates are set in law. Barrister can help us.
Perhaps.
Well, I think that Nigerian politicians have always engaged in issues.
Have they?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, they have always engaged in issues. But what you find alongside that is desperation.
How do you mean?
And when they get desperate, they begin to look for other means at all costs.
When
to
you say
clinch.
desperation, you need to break that.
The desperation I mean is this, because politicians are supposed to address issues, create a conversation, and then bring knowledge-based information and superior narrative to counter one another in the process of campaigning and electioneering, to sell themselves and then get the voters or the electors to do accordingly, okay? Nigerian politicians have done that over the years. They've had manifestos. You have people who have programs, and they reel out these programs. APC talked about change, PDP talked about power being power to the people.
Sloganeering is different from...
No, I know. What I mean is this. We cannot say we've not had politicians without programs and manifestos. We've seen that. But the problem is that they don't get to accomplish this. And that is why the society is broken. And during election, apart from whatever it is the ideology is, they get desperate, okay? And then they begin to look for other means other than relying on their electors.
Throwing jibes at each other?
Yes, they do that. And they'll begin to look at other means other than the electors. They're supposed to rely solely on the electors to choose. But they look for other means. You know, they begin to buy votes. They begin to give gratification, to purchase people's mandates and all that. And at the end of the day, you have a lot of problem, and the fallout is the tribunal. The tribunal is convoluted. Then you start dragging. So I don't think it's the issue of not having programs or not having manifestos or not knowing what to do. They know what to do, but here there's a problem in our polity.
Perhaps this is why the national, the party chairman is saying that APC is going the way of integrity, looking at the integrity and personality of major candidates. But why that direction?
Well, integrity is everything. Integrity is everything, or more. Because it's your word. You say this, and you are doing it, and people are saying it.
Have our
I look at the caliber
have our politicians really kept to their words?
I don't know about. I'm talking about. I'm an APC member.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm involved in policy making.
Okay.
And I've also worked with leaders. I serve them, Ashiwaju. I serve the Fashola. I'm serving on body. So I've seen it all. And I've seen policies generated and then these things implemented in Lagos here. If you talk about 16 years of 1999 to the federal level, I won't talk about that one. But if you're talking from 2015 to date, I can tell you that we have masters in the game. You cannot dismiss Fashola. You cannot dismiss the vice president. You cannot dismiss the president. You cannot remove Amechi. These are people that are coming with a lot of background, you know, a lot of, you know, they have antecedents that you can rely on. So you see, we must not dismiss our leaders with a wave of hand. Maybe we have made mistakes in the past, but not what I'm seeing now. Even though some people will claim they are not seeing anything. They are not seeing change, we are not seeing, nothing is happening, everything is down. But actually, something is happening. Something that is going to make us better. I'm seeing it, and I feel it, and I dream it, and I'm going to see it happen. And it's happening. It's going to be a gradual process. People that have eyes will see. Third eyes, I'm not talking about two eyes. Third eyes will see what is going on. Because bringing about change is a very difficult thing, especially when people who want the maintenance of status quo are many among us, you know. We're talking about 80, 85, 90% who they just want money. They don't know how the money comes. And then you have another 10% who say, look, we must do it this way. And the pressure from those 80, 85, 90% will tend to overwhelm that of the remaining 10, 15%. But if those 15% are strong and they are holding on, we may get to where we want to go. People don't like change, especially when they are beneficiaries, you know. Share the money and let us go. That's what we're suffering now. Almost 16 years of non-performance, stealing all the money. And this is where we find ourselves, because you cannot eat your cake and have it.
Definitely.
If you didn't train your child for probably between the 20 years, don't expect anything from that child. I've been in other climes and I've seen developments, infrastructure, things that runs the economy. And people don't think. They travel and they come back. They're not seeing those things. You can't find one single medical park here, I mean, first class hospital, that if you build it in Nigeria here, you see people from African countries coming here to seek medical attention. I can't see probably a world-class university. Is that what the APC is planning to do? Are you trying to give us I'm just giving you it's a movement. We're going. We're going. That's what I see coming. You know, where you have something like Harvard, where people will come, pay their money, get knowledge, and go. You see, before you attract people to your country, there must things you must put in place. If you go to Dubai, you will see why people go there. Beautiful place, beautiful structures, beautiful hotels. Everywhere is fine.
And has the
Shopping
party been
malls,
able to do that?
No,
That's such
you
that it will
can't-
be able to build on that?
No. It's a gradual. It was not those places. Let me finish now. Those places I'm talking about was not built in a day.
Well, and you want to react to this? Yeah.
Let me start by quickly putting some facts to Barrister that will help him on to review his submission that Nigerian politicians have always dealt on issues because they have party manifesto. We have a ruling party as we speak that espoused a particular manifesto to the electorate when they were campaigning in 2014, 2015. We must give it to the president that he was largely taciturn on many of the issues in the manifesto. He would go to places and he would talk about corruption, which we know is endemic in the country and is corrosive to the prosperity of Nigeria, but he seldom personally espoused many when he was elected. And people were throwing jibes at him that his party promised devolution. At a point, his anger zone and his media people were saying, "Did you hear it from me?" At a point, his anger zone and his media team were telling us that he never personally promised to pay students some monies that the youths believed was going to be paid to them. I am one who believes that integrity does matter. And it's ironic that you mentioned that the person who stated that it will be about integrity is the incumbent chairman of the APC.
Yes.
Comrade Oshomole.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. For the presidential candidate, I will let the integrity.
Other candidates.
For the other candidates, we would have to look at them one by one. Human beings are peculiar. But for the presidential candidate, okay, I will oblige the privilege of integrity to his personal behavioral persona. In administration, his appointments for me, especially from his kitchen cabinet, his chief of staff, this is the first time in the history of Nigeria that the president of Nigeria would wake up, would speak outside to his wife on his bed, go out of his apartment, speak outside to his chief of staff, go out of, move a little bit, see the ADC, speak outside to him, leave the ADC, move to the next round of officers around him, and Rwanda to speak Hausa. If you have the Security Council meeting of Nigeria today, it could easily be held in Hausa. So that issue of integrity too, we must not overflog it. We must be very careful. But however, relative to the main opposition candidate, I would any day, any time, give it to Buhari. I give the integrity scorecard to Buhari relative for me to Atiku. My personal opinion.
All right.
But having said that, the gracious dispensation of barrister that Nigerian politicians have always mattered on issue. Barrister is a very generous man.
All right, you wanted to react to something, but we also want you to react to this issue of integrity. He's saying that, Bola is saying that we shouldn't, hinge on that issue.
Yeah, when you talk about...
Alone, I'm not saying we shouldn't...
Alone, yes.
Yeah.
When you talk about integrity borders on a lot of things. Is a very huge word, okay? It entails uprightness, honesty, accountability,
fairness,
transparency, and then fairness, equity, justice.
Yes.
If we take the embodiment of all these virtues, can we really rest it on this president? I doubt it. Not because I'm against the president, but because of the weight of the virtues of this ideology. I think that the president is not wholesomely one who can be qualified with that adjective, and then we should all pass by and go to bed.
It's not just about the president. It's
No,
the major...
yeah, I understand.
Sorry.
The chairman, the current chairman of APC, okay, said the government will ride on that.
Yes.
And I understand that. So he talked about the president. So I'm just addressing the issue of the president. Like he said that, you know, the party is doing much, but that people who don't want to see will not see, but something is going on in the party. And when he said that, I ejected, because I understand that the party have certain strides, okay? Even though it is very minimal, the strides that we talk about, the social...
Relative to others, the party has done quite...
The social...
social investment program.
Scheme, investment program, that is fantastic.
Fantastic.
When you have an empire,
Historic.
you have this macro, attacking the macro level of the economy.
Trader money.
Yes, distributed. It's fine, but you know that addresses the informal sector. Okay? So, and the entire economy cannot rest on the informal sector. There is a formal sector. Okay, how well is
the structure.
Okay, how well is this government addressing the formal sector? What is the nature of NNPC? What is the nature of the other parastatals? Have we done that good? No, he said that this government is doing that, and he is saying that. But he went further to say he has not seen a world-class hospital here. He has not seen a world-class university and other. But I thought, having submitted that, you asked whether, is it these things you're saying, is it the direction of the government? Perhaps you need to explain more, because the listener might wonder, because before now he said the government has done this, but people are not saying it. Then he went further to say he has not seen what is available. So it means there's contradiction here. There's the problem.
Okay, Joe, so you want
need to unlock that.
If he is seeing these contradictions, perhaps the viewers might be seeing same.
I'm not confused.
Did you say he's confused?
No, I'm not confused.
Why would you say he's confused?
I'm telling you
I didn't say that.
a lot is going on, but there are certain things we still need to do that is in the pipeline. You can't finish all the jobs.
That was why at this part of the plans, the party
Mobility Johnson had finished all the jobs in Lagos in the 60s.
That one would
not have any here. So no one can tell you that it will solve all the problems of this country in just one fell swoop. It's not just possible. We have traveled extensively. When we see what is happening in our other climes, we cannot just come. You have to start from somewhere, and then you will just go moving until you get there. I'm just giving. I'm just trying to open up our minds to what I should expect, or what we should expect, to make us, a destination. People must come to this place and spend their dollars, buy dollars, and they use our facilities. People change money, $30,000, $25,000, and travel to Dubai, finish it and come back. As you are leaving your hotel, Ghanaians are coming in. Or that one place, everybody heading to one place. What is the attraction?
Have we made it attractable? Have we made the country attractive?
That is, says they're trying.
That is what is going to be put in place. It's not going to be done in a day. My dear, it's not going to see it in a day.
Joe, we need to move forward.
It will take you three.
But we should see the blocks.
It will take you 3-4 years to build second Niger Bridge. Yes. Second Niger Bridge.
Okay.
3-4 years.
At least
it's going on. It's going on. But that is the duration. There's something you can do about it.
Some people told us before that they...
All right, gentlemen, we need to move forward.
I pass through there every day and I go to check the...
Okay, it's 90 days to the 2019 presidential election. Incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari is seeking re-election and running against a plethora of impressive personalities. But leading the pack of opposition candidates is former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Political watchers say the 2019 presidential poll is a two-horse race between President Buhari, the candidate of the APC, and Atiku, the candidate of the PDP. What's your take on this? Do you think that, Agbola, the other 54 parties, because INEC is saying that only 56 parties are ready for the elections, do you think that the other 54 cannot bring a surprise?
We wait and see. It would be lovely, but reality as at this juncture is that there are two main candidates. And it's not peculiar to Nigeria, actually. Many people may not know that countries like United States of America, countries like Canada, countries like United Kingdom, countries like, except for the fact that in Europe now, as a result of populism and xenophobia, third-party entities are now springing up. But historically in Germany, you've always had the CDU and the SDP. Now you have the... so I must say that in most liberal democracies, there is a natural dynamism that props up two main parties. In the case of Nigeria, who would have thought that with the enormous amount of villainy that PDP visited on us for 16 years, that PDP will still be a main party? But it's the main party. And if care is not taken, if care is not taken, and if APC gets too complacent, they may get whacking from PDP. And some people were actually saying, you know me, I will say it the way I see it.
Your opinion. It's your opinion.
I'm not an apostle, but I just hope you people don't get too complacent.
Why are you speaking in that direction, talking about complacency?
Because at a point, many of us, including the type of analysts, political pundits, many of us thought that the infamy with which PDP was exited out of Aso Rock, that it would take probably a generation or two before they could come back. And I was telling people, I guess on one of your programs, I may have mentioned it, because I mentioned it across the board. I said, you know what? In most liberal democracies, opposition parties seldom win elections. Ruling parties tend to lose elections. And you know why ruling parties lose elections? One, when the ruling party gets elected and they take over the reins of power, arrogance sets in. They start talking down to their electors or the electorate. Intra-party feuds set in. People who ordinarily should be working for a common cause will then be going at each other's political jugular. Apart from that too, apart from arrogance and inter-party feuds, you then have some within the party believing that they know too much. So if you look at all these factors, just look at the APC that you now have, including what APC showed us for what it called its primaries, and the accusations and counter-accusations ongoing against strategic personages in the party. You just want, if you're somebody who has followed the history of Nigeria since 1999, you just want to be praying that these people, you hope the ball that should be penalty, they will not kick it into throwing.
Okay.
But you know what? At this juncture, those are the two
major parties
punditry tells us to be looking at. But if I get a major seismic, I will praise the Lord. All right.
Evans. Yeah. Well, two major parties, I'm not certain if that's your opinion, saying that there might not be any surprise. But the Indigbo are saying that the president's re-election is going to be a national consensus. Is that what you see it to be?
Well, they can't just conclude that way. I know that APC have become a brand, sort of, and then their success and achievement have always been hinged on that infamous PDP 16 years of outright decadence. We are the way we are today because of that unforgettable 16 years.
But we need to move forward.
Now, APC, 4 years into the shot, have not presented a different narrative, really. They've not done anything different from what PDP have done. That is why one of their members who left for PDP recently made an expression that APC have not learned, that PDP have learned more from their failure than APC have learned from their achievements. And that is why the only way APC can find its footing in 2019 election is to redefine the scope and go back to the drawing board, go back to their manifesto, and then deliver on the promises of democracy. This thing is not rocket science. They can't do this thing. I mean, if you look at the country generally, what major difference or change have we really achieved within this period? I know that they came in when there was recession. I know things were difficult. But then it does not erase the fact that Section 14, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution says it is hereby accordingly declared that sovereignty belongs to the people, to which government derive a legitimacy, that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. No matter how difficult things are, that part of the Constitution, I mean, lawyers will argue that it's not justiciable, but I don't care about that. I'm saying that
this is security.
The two pillars of governance is security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. And it's in the Constitution, Section 14, subsection 2. No matter how difficult things are, the government must make sure that, yes, it's sacred. It's sacred. So any government that have not delivered on that cannot hold his head up there and say, we have delivered on the promise of democracy. That's not it.
All right, we'll come back to you, Joe, to react to all of this, but then we need to quickly go on a break, and the discussion continues when we return. Do stay with us. All right, we still have our panelists in the studio, and before we went on the break, I told Joe that you are going to react to what Evans has said, because from what Bola said, intra-party feuds, which some have seen to, if care is not taken up, if not properly handled, could hinder the fortunes of the party, so to speak, come 2019 elections. And then Evans is saying that there's really, the government or the party has so far not really delivered on the dividends of democracy.
If you are not, he said, I want to take him on the fact that we've been talking too much about 16 years of waste, colossal waste and looting. Yes, we cannot stop talking about it because it's our history. There's an adage in my place, and it says, if you don't find out what killed your father, what killed your father will kill you. If you don't remember where you're coming from, then you won't know how to go back. You won't know how to go back. That one, I will leave that one, but let me tell you, they talk about internal issues within the party. Yes, it's expected. APC is a very big party. It's the ruling party. And I like what our leader said about, the issues of primaries and, differences within the party. He said, going to elections or Congress is not something that's going to a cinema hall to go and watch a comedy. And when you are coming out, you just be laughing and clapping your hands. He aligned it with that of a World Cup tournament. When you get to that place, a team must lose. They will not be happy.
Of course.
Somebody would have broken his legs. He won't be happy. Somebody was put on the bench. He won't be happy. There's many things that will happen. Debaters, pool agents that would have staked their money, they won't be happy.
But there are internal mechanisms that are meant to, take care of all of the reactions. But what we are seeing is seeming like that is not really working.
You are not seeing anything. Okay, the least.
Because of the allegations and all of that
these things will come. You see, the allegations, you need to investigate where they are coming from. A lot of fake news are flying about. Really? So people people must say anything. People are angry. They don't want to look at the issues. So they allow them. The allegations will come. This and that will come. But the thing, justice has been done.
Has it?
Yes, justice has been done. Some people will not like it. I give you an example of one of our internal matters, before the congresses. Some of them that did not did not join others to move back to PDP. were promised senatorial seats.
All right.
And some governors are coming back to pick those seats. What do you expect that person to do? You have to stamp your fate. I'm talking about Ogun State, where one man will sit down and say, I'm going to, you nominate the governor, you nominate the deputy governor, you put the speaker, you put this, you went to take the Senate seat that was given to one of them that didn't go back to PDP, and you take it, people are back. You see, these are the things for you to apply justice. Some people will not be happy. But the one that's being denied justice will be happy when he gets it.
All right.
There are other issues that I want to talk about. But let's also talk about it. I still want to go into, Evan said,
quickly,
he has
because
not,
we need to move
Evan
on.
said he has not seen anything. Maybe try and look very well.
Okay.
Look very well, sir. You will see. Let's not pretend. Look very well. Travel.
Okay.
I know that. So we don't talk about race system. We don't talk about race
program
system
now.
before. We don't talk about race system. It's coming up. Yes, he mentioned.
He mentioned social-
Yes, he mentioned. But
And you want him to blow his eyes by opening it too
concrete
much.
projects that are going on.
travel
Roads,
across 12 states
railways,
this
you
year.
know, agriculture, you know, fight against corruption. This man has given a deadly blow to corrupt people.
All right, so we'll talk about something else you mentioned as we move on. Well, President Buhari and Atiku recently got endorsements from different quarters, while the United Progressive Party and the Igbo Union endorsed Buhari and adopted him as their presidential candidate. Ohaneze Ndigbo endorsed Abubakar Atiku as their candidates. Seems that these recent endorsements have split the people of the Southeast who have been eyeing the presidential seat. What do you make of this, Gola? Really?
Let's be very honest with ourselves. It will bother on delusion of grandeur electorally for President Muhammadu Buhari and his campaign strategist to expect too much electorally from the Southeast. Ironically, and I was on a live program and I was telling somebody from the East that ironically, Muhammadu Buhari's government has done more physical infrastructural projects
In the Southeast.
in the Southeast.
I come from Southeast.
Verifiably. But you know what? The attitude the president has shown to human beings. And it's about time politicians like my brother here, Igbokwe, and those who ultimately are fortunate to get into offices, it's about time they came to the realization that on the one hand, you emphasizing infrastructure is not a bad idea, but if you are building infrastructure and the people believe that you are not building them, or your disposition to them is not edifying, or the general way you relate with them, they don't see hope, which is the greatest ruby in the heart of a human being. You know what? You could do much. Look at what's happening in some states. Electoral victory of 140,000 votes barely was retained by 400 votes in Osun. Many people may not know that the infrastructural dynamism that Aregbe did in Osun can be compared with pretty little in the whole of Nigeria. He really blasted infrastructure there. Look at what's happening in Ogun. The guy is putting 2 or 3 bridges where in less than 2 kilometers or less than 3 kilometers, 2 or 3 bridges. And he was thinking that it was going to be about infrastructure. But look at even his fate within his party now. Politicians in Nigeria overemphasize infrastructure. One is not saying that it's a bad idea, but if you neglect the people or the people believe that you are arrogant or you treat them condescendingly, or especially, let's get specific now, especially the way the incumbent president has treated people from the Southeast as it pertains to strategic appointments, you will get a whacking. So be it the Igbo Union or UPP, or be it Ohaneze Ndigbo or whoever, the truth is that if President Muhammadu Buhari gets 25% that he constitutionally would desire to have, in any southeastern state, for me, it will border on miracle.
And a miracle. Evans, do you share the same view?
Yeah, because, even the last election, I mean, the votes he got from that direction was not much.
93,000.
It was not really much. So, and as at that time, he has not even exhibited the appointments, okay, and then the way the IPOB issue was handled,
Yes.
the way so many other issues were handled. These people felt, you know, they are not, they felt they are not well treated by the government. That is exactly how they feel. I have traveled through 13 states this year, okay? I've interviewed people from that area. I've listened to people talk about it. I don't want to sit here and then say exactly what is going to turn out, what is going to be, but it's less likely that it's going to have a pullout from that region. It's less likely because of the past, okay, except he uses a strategy to intercept the past, okay, and maybe, I don't know how, I'm not going to profile solution. I do not have solution really to that problem. It's for the party to do so, okay? But I think that a PDP in its own part, okay, it is not also a Dorado for them in that region. because
there were controversies surrounding the endorsement.
Yes, because there are a lot of issues that came up during the primaries.
He is nominating
so,
Obi as
candidate.
Yes, I think, and then these socio-cultural groups that endorses people here and there.
Now shop money then.
They are just people who turned up for that meeting. Sometimes it's not necessarily that they just have one vote. Each of them have one vote.
If they will vote.
If they have PVCs, if they will vote, because most people will not vote.
They will not go to the polling booth.
So if they will vote, that is another thing. So
big men don't go to
we allow the electors to decide who they think is fit for the job.
I'm from Southeast.
Okay, so you know better.
I'm from Southeast.
India, Anambra.
You can see my...
Yes.
2023.
You see? He talked about not, infrastructure is not the thing, it's the people, appointments and all that. But I have to remind you, when Jonathan was in power, we were running almost all the critical ministries.
Oh yes, and they messed it.
What did he add?
Infrastructure was deplorable there.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did he add to that? We have to make this point. What did he bring attention to Enugu Port Harcourt Expressway? Did he bring attention to Enugu Onitsha Expressway? Did he bring attention to Second Niger Bridge? Did he bring attention to Newark and so many other things that are happening there now?
But, the major point which Bola made was, are the people feeling all of this beyond doing that? They need to have an impact.
I am from Southeast. The fallout of
don't come.
The fallout of 2015 elections, people are still angry. I have to tell you this. They are still angry.
Why?
That Jonathan lost the election. They are born Friday. Their owners lost the election. They are still very angry. So no matter what you put down or what I have seen, that's transformation that is going on in that place, they pretend as if they don't see it. That hate is still there. So what's the man going to do about it? If I'm not here, and anybody who is outside will say, oh, they marginalized and they did this. The time they were all be them, many of them were controlling critical ministries. Did you see Southwest there? They were complaining of marginalization. But they didn't cut off their heads. The same people went and formed an alliance. If you know, I'm the author of Heroes of Democracy, and I know what the Southwest suffered in the hands of the leaders then. They were almost chased away. Some of them were killed. The same people came back and formed an alliance.
So if some of them are now saying that...
and this is what we are seeing today. So I had thought that our people will learn to play politics. Big clue behind this government, 2023 is shorter than 2027. But they are not seeing it. They are not seeing it. And the Southwest waited for about 3.5 years to see whether our people would demonstrate that seriousness to join the ruling party. You can see what happened when Obi was picked. But
The
don't look
reactions.
at those noise. They don't the noise that we see all over the place. When the time comes, our people will tell you where they will go. Don't write it off.
Yeah.
Our people may
They're
end
not
up voting
saying it
for.
on the one hand, but when the time
our people may
comes-
end up voting for PMB,
Okay.
They are not seeing it.
given
but when
given
time
the,
comes-
the dynamics that are playing out.
The dynamics are
in
playing
the,
out.
in the
We'll see
Southeast.
the
They
end
have
result.
no choice.
All right, let's quickly move forward. National chairman of the APC, Adams Oshomole, has expressed the readiness of his party to flag off campaigns. But while the APC might be forging ahead, there is a dark cloud hovering over its national chairman. Oshomole was recently interrogated by the DSS over corruption allegations leveled against him by some members of the APC. He is alleged to have collected huge sums of monies from some persons so as to influence the outcome of their party primaries. Governor Okorocha of Imo, Amosun of Ogun, and Abdulaziz Yari of Zamfara have repeatedly attacked Oshomole over the conduct of the primaries. There are unconfirmed reports that the former Edo State governor might be ousted from office and prosecuted. What's your reaction to this? I know we have spoken about this issue earlier, and you talked about it is just one of those things. But well, some have said that this is not really good, doesn't portray the party in a good light, and that issues of trusting the parties, because whichever way you see it, Adams Oshomole has to clear his name.
When the PDP was holding its presidential nomination convention in Port Harcourt, the first person that sent me a digital message, pictorial digital message, that monies were being distributed in Port Harcourt in envelopes was my brother. You know, it was you that sent me. And he's even on your Facebook page. And to be honest with you, I just knew that, okay, he's doing what he should do, and you know what, somebody should give it to PDP that they want to continue this culture. But to be sitting here today and have to be talking about the allegations out there about the dollars allegedly that changed hands, allegedly.
Yes, that's why we call it allegations.
That changed hands in APCs, the Integrity Party, President Muhammadu Buhari's party, Igbokwe's party. With due respect, in a Senate climb, or in some Senate climbs, Chairman Oshomole ought to have gone to use the instrumentation of the court.
Don't pass judgment.
I'm not passing judgment.
No, he's saying in other climes.
I said in Senate climbs, it would have been incumbent on him to use the instrumentation of law to not only protect his own integrity, but get people into trouble.
It's not over yet.
Because he is being flippant. It's not over yet, but we see what is happening in Kano. So don't give us the... but I'm happy. You know why I pray they go to court? When in Kano, the State House of Assembly invited the governor. It's not the State House of Assembly sent his commissioner for information. But when you go to court, my friend is a lawyer, when you go to court to sue for libel and defamation, you will at a point stand in the dock, and the lawyer of the defendant will put you through some, I'm waiting for it. But you know what? Cut a long story short, what is happening in MPC now, I hope will not be an albatross that may negatively affect this president because of the perception that is building around, maybe wrongly.
Fighting corruption and all of that, really, could this be an albatross for the party?
Yes, because it borders on the question of integrity.
Yes.
Okay, because if you tell the world that your house is very clean, you must make sure you keep it clean when unexpected visitors arrive, so that they will meet it the way you presented it. It's going to be an albatross because if you look at the way the APC chairman carried himself upon assumption of office, he was vociferous. He came with all manner of force to change the status quo, as it were. But now the allegations that has now become the fallout of his political engagement is worrisome. Worrisome in the sense that one would have thought that his administration is going to be a radical departure from the past and then set a standard and then build upon the standards. You see, because the accusation now against him is not just criminal, it's also a contravention of the Electoral Act, which specifically provided that giving gratification, collecting or giving gratification for the purposes of election is an offense. Okay? So, however, these are allegations, okay? And they will remain allegation because, you know, the Constitution says that...
until it is proven otherwise.
Yes, an accused person is presumed innocent.
Yes.
Until the contrary is proven.
Yes.
So I urge...
In law, but in politics, perception is reality sometimes.
But it's dangerous to conclude.
I said the perception.
The perception.
That's why I spoke about trust.
The perception.
Perception in politics sometimes.
The perception, because people will reach their conclusions and then begin to act against you, even if you are innocent. Okay, so the allegation, there must be a way to deal with this because it shouldn't be coming from and it has to be dealt with very quickly.
Yes, there must be a surgical way.
We must have this thing clear.
Perhaps Joe might want to give us an insight into what is happening.
I am an insider.
Okay.
And I know what is playing out. Blackmail is playing out. When people are going down, they want to pull other people down. And the only way you can do that is to do what they're doing now. Accusations and counter-accusations. Money. It's a lie from the pit of hell. Let me use the strong words. It's what we see in the parties every other day. If you go to reconcile with somebody, they will say you have collected money from him. That's what they tell us. I remember when we had a little issue now in Igbo APC in Lagos. You know, the new chairman came and brought us together. What the other side is said is that I use money to buy the other side. They will always use that. They will think money was the end thing, but it's not. It's not. Oshomole did the needful and caused some people to their size, where they should be. Sticking to what the party is not going to be easy.
Because the way he was handling some of these things was a worry for some people. Perhaps he couldn't have degenerated to this point.
No, leave it. Some people want to take up, some I don't want to mention them, some governors want to put up a governorship candidate, put their wife there, put their children there, put this there, put this, and if you say no, the next thing you will see is blackmail. They will call some people, this is the age of social media. People talk about $50 million as if you are talking about 50,000 naira, you know. So these are lies from the pit of hell.
And you even have a figure.
The deed.
I didn't know you have a figure for it.
The deed.
Because the figures are out there.
Yes, the deed.
The figures are out there.
People will put figures, and they will put millions. Dollars, they're not even talking about naira now, so leave it. There's nothing you can do about it.
But then, like, the perception has been made, like you have said.
Let it be.
Let it be.
Oshiomhole is our chairman. And we rooted for him to come and do what he's doing now, to come and sanitize the party. The governors are too strong. They are becoming too strong. One of them insisted in nominating every senator from that state. Instead of taking up whoever is going to be the governor.
You will agree with me that all of this has to be resolved before the elections.
Nothing is going to. It's our party. We know what is playing out. For an outsider, you may not know.
The electorates are the ones that will decide.
They will be anything you put. If you
cannot
like,
just say it's our party. They are watching.
No, wait now. We are in the age of fake news.
Agreed.
Fake allegations. So we need to have thought eyes to be able to see these things clearly.
But you need to prove
if you
pull me beyond
down,
a reasonable doubt that these things.
Yes, we'll manage it. When we get to the bridge.
You remember the dictum?
When you
remember the
when we
dictum?
get to the bridge, you cross
In
it.
most liberal democracies, opposition parties seldom win elections. Ruling parties, out of arrogance, intra-party feuds, lose them.
It's not arrogant.
that-
Blackmailers are at work.
But can
And
we really
they
vouch
cannot-
for? Can we really vouch for this chairman aside blackmailers?
it's not.
Oshomole,
It's not the cabinet
Oshomole,
code.
Oshomole.
Because, I mean, if we
it's not
conclude-
everybody. We must not think that everybody is corrupt.
Okay.
Oshomole has been a labor. He has a lot of courage. He's bringing a lot to the table. We rooted for him. We wanted the right chairman to go.
Okay.
And many of them are not happy with him for what he did. to these
Gentlemen,
families.
this is the
So
most
that's
we
why
can
they're
take.
after him.
Joe,
You have to have the third eyes to look at some of these things. I'm on inside, I should be able to.
I
tell
wish
you.
This
you
is
and
the
your
most-
party
money.
best
Oshomole
of
is
luck.
not a
of
poor
luck,
man
yeah.
by any
I
standard.
wish you and your party best
and
of
it's
luck.
not somebody you can just bribe.
Joe,
And you just give him what you
Joe,
want.
we need
Joe.
to wrap up.
Yes, man.
Thank you. Evans, thank
So that
you
we
for
can
coming.
do the work
Bola,
in
thank you for coming.
2023.
Well, that's our package on today's edition of StandPoint. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can watch a repeat of this edition tomorrow by 7 a.m. I am Veronica Danik Boy. Enjoy your weekend.